So then I took in a big gulp of cold salt water, seawater, and coughing. Now I'm trying to get this regular back into my mouth, trying to get the situation purged and squared away so I can breathe. Now panic stations have kicked in full force.
This video is brought to you by Carcajou Tactical and Grey Fox Strategic. For 10% off your next purchase with Grey Fox Strategic, use code DA10.
This next story comes from preparation for the 2010 Olympics in the west coast of Canada. I was part of what was referred to as divers. So the Maritime Special Operations kind of group conglomerate at that time was pretty much all within one troop. Things have changed over some time, but we had a group of guys that were dedicated for anything on the water, subsurface, so above surface, subsurface, anything that would be Maritime Special Operations specific. So I was part of that team at that time. And we were doing a couple of dives onto a vessel. So if, for an example, there was a vessel at anchor, a vessel alongside, we'd have the ability to, if we needed to, get on board of that vessel. And in training preparation for a situation like this, we were diving at, it wasn't too late, but maybe 11 o'clock at night, something like that. So it's dark enough. We're under the water, it's pitch black. You only see, basically phosphorescence, which are kind of like little segments that look like stars under the water. When the water is cold and fins are kicking, you see these little stars in the water. That's really about it. Unless you're the navigator, all you're staring at is your nav board with a small little light glow to keep you a line of where we're going. The rest of the team is basically connected by a group navigation system, which is just ropes that are, you use tugs and pulls to communicate with each other at that time. So we're all just kind of swimming under the water towards this vessel that we're eventually going to climb up on top of, and then we'll do an assault on top of this vessel. So as we're approaching the vessel, so we're under the water for maybe an hour and a bit. We're finning towards the vessel. We get underneath, and then there's drills and protocols on how to de-rig kit. Get rid of what you don't need, and then prep yourself for the climb and the assault on the outside of the ship. And you're trying to do that as stealthily as possible, as quiet as possible. So it takes time. It's very deliberate. It's well thought out, and it's generally well organized. This particular evening, things kind of get a little bit fucked up. And as we were underneath of the boat, underneath of the vessel that we're about to climb, the entire team got kind of tangled up and kind of messed up. But there's no way to clearly communicate to each other, and there's no way to see. It's all pitch black under the vessel. So what had happened is, as I'm getting tied up with this rope, and so was the rest of the team, and everybody has good intentions. We're just trying to figure out how to kind of stay calm and get this mess unfucked. And I look at my depth gauge, and we're at like 21 or 22 feet. And generally, we're kind of hovering around 12 or 15 feet. So we're getting deeper. So as we're getting a little bit deeper, ropes and lines are getting a little bit tighter. Sometimes one rope around a fin or around an arm kind of loosened off, which was good. And then another one would tighten up, which is not good. So you're trying to figure out whether we kick and fin up, or we let ourselves sink a little bit. Everyone's probably thinking the exact same thing. Long story short, what had happened is one of the tether lines that connect us got wrapped basically around my face and my neck. So that was getting tighter. And the way it works, when we're breathing rebreathers, you've got a tube that comes in to feed you oxygen, and you have a tube that goes out to expel the negative. So it's connected, and it's a full enclosed system. And the way that it's connected to the rig is it's almost impossible to literally wrap a rope around your neck and like to tie it off because of the way the system works. But somehow on that day, on that night, this rope got tighter around my throat. And as I'm frantically trying to get this thing off of my neck, and I'm noticing that we're getting deeper, I start to panic a little bit. I'm starting to feel really uncomfortable with what is happening. I'm trying to stay calm, trying to breathe and just relax and just know that we're gonna get this sorted out. And as I'm getting this rope off of my neck, I also felt my fin get caught up on something, and it was pulling me in the opposite direction. So my my foot was getting pulled in one direction. I had this rope around my neck and it was getting tighter. At that point, I decided to take my wrist loop off, which is connected to my buddy, which is a big no-no. You don't do that. But I needed the freedom in my hand. So I took that off to then fight to get this thing off of my neck. And as I'm doing that, then I took a boot in the face from somebody else's fin, and the regulator basically got dislodged from my mouth. So then I took in a big gulp of cold salt water, seawater, and I'm coughing. Now I'm trying to get this regulator back into my mouth, trying to get the situation purged and squared away so I can breathe. Now panic stations have kicked in full force. So I'm getting pulled in one direction. Now my regulator's been cut off. So in that moment of survival is what I remember and recall. And there's a lesson that I will come to that I've learned from this. I got my wrist loop taken off, rope around my neck taken off, sorted my regulator out, and then I hit the throttle. So I started kicking and finning towards the ceiling with like conviction. If there was not a boat above me, the vessel wasn't above me, I probably would have launched out of the water like a sea lion or a dolphin. But what happened is I was kicking, and I then smashed my head onto the bottom of the vessel. So now I'm rattled. So I'm rattled physically, I'm rattled emotionally, and I am just not in a good spot. So I find my hands onto the bottom of the boat. I find my way up to the surface. And then as I popped out on the surface, basically we had a couple of teams running at the same time. So we had a port side team and a starboard side team. I believe I was on the starboard side team, but I came out on the port side. And as I did, the team leader at that time is looking, he said, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I don't know what just happened." And he's like, "Are you okay?" And yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Everything's good. Where are the rest of the guys? I'm like, I don't know. We're all fucked up and the D-rig was a disaster. And he's like, "All right, you're good, you're good." So he starts climbing because they are already ahead of us. So they start climbing up on that side. And then I waved over. We have a safety boat for reasons and situations like this. So I waved the safety boat over because I'm disconnected from the rest of the team. So now this is a bit of a safety concern. Where are the rest of the guys and is everybody okay? So I let the safety boat know I'm okay. I'm on the surface now, I'm okay. But now it's not okay because we don't know where everybody else is. Long story short, everybody comes to the surface. One team had already made it. They were on the vessel doing what they need to do. And the other team that I was part of were a little bit disjointed. They eventually made their way up, and I was not part of the assault. I was on the safety boat at this point, kind of getting checked over. And it was not a good feeling for a couple of reasons. The water is a true equalizer, first of all. It's an element that we are not fish. So the more time you spend in situations like that, of course, you're gonna get more comfortable with it. And I spend a lot of time under the water, but a situation like that, I had never experienced before. And I remember in my head thinking, well, the moment that the regulator got kicked out of my face, I remember thinking, well, I need to get to the surface because that's the best course of action in order to breathe and stay on the right side of the earth. But what didn't come to mind was the fact that we have integrated into the kit and equipment is a PDF. So it's basically a personal flotation device that we have the ability to add some air into. So I can add some air into it to become a little bit more buoyant. We have the ability to purge it if we don't need to. But during training, at some point, I don't ever recall going through that situation should it ever present itself. I'm not saying that I'm blaming the training, because it was me to understand the kit and equipment and know what I could and could not do in that situation. The key takeaway and the lesson learned from this, for anybody that ever finds himself in that situation, the best course of action when we start to feel panic stations kick in and we realize like our safety or our survivability is at risk or at jeopardy, is to calm down and think about what is the thing that's right in front of us that we can change or fix or modify to get the desired effect. The thing that could have helped me was literally right here. That device, I could have added a little bit more air, got my regulator sorted out, and just kind of just relax from there. I have a source of air to breathe, and then now I have the ability to think and then systematically get myself out of that situation. That being said, that is not how I responded, and it bothered me for quite some time of the way I responded. However, the benefit to it is I was surrounded by a great team and with some really good leadership. And the next evening, because we were doing this for a series of days. The next evening, we were preparing and getting squared away for another iteration. And my boss came to me and he said, "Hey man, how you feeling?" I'm like, I think I'll be all right. I think I'll be okay. He's like, "I'm gonna make a recommendation." He said, "Why don't you jump in the water and just do a simple kind of nav swim? Go out 200 meters, come back. Once the darkness sets, and then you just do like a buddy dive, just you and a buddy, just go out and kind of just get in terms with whether or not you've been a little bit rattled or have any anxiety about this upcoming swim." I'm like, "Okay, sure, it's probably a good idea." So darkness sets in. This is a night after the incident. I'm fine physically. Everything was fine. My neck and head were a bit rattled, but it was no big deal. I jump in the water. And a buddy of mine came with me. We went out, I think it was 200 meters, and came back. A simple straight line nav, simple straight line directional change, and like a triangle, basically. It's like, that's all we did. It was nothing too crazy. And in my oxygen tank, my breath, the amount that I was breathing and the amount of O2 that I went through in 30 minutes, maybe it might have been a 30-minute, it was the equivalent of a two-hour dive. So clearly I needed that because my breath control while doing a simple straight line swim was clearly I was still affected by the night before, the events of the night before. But what the benefit to that is I recognized it. I was okay with it. That gave me an opportunity to rebuild confidence. And then later on that evening, when I jumped in with the team, we basically kind of almost rinse and repeat from the night before because it was such a disaster, and it went off without a hitch, and everything went according to plan. And then I kind of calmed down and relaxed with the situation. All that being said, it was a pretty shitty experience where, training incident could have become a statistic. It didn't, and luckily surrounded by really good people that have a ton of experience that shared those experiences to help guide, when situations like this. None of us are perfect, man. We're human at the end of the day. We all make mistakes. If I could do it again, if I were to experience that exact same thing, yes, I would do things differently. Take a breath. Obviously, with no regulator underwater, you don't have that ability to breathe, but you do have the ability to think. So take a moment, think, respond, deal with the thing that's right in front of you first, and you'll come up with a viable solution.